Welcome to the Empowered Living Show. My name is Lisa Mizels, and I'm your host. I'm a visibility strategist for health coaches, holistic practitioners, and healers. And I am so excited today to bring to you Robin Arutt. Robin has a rich wealth of knowledge about the human body, and she also helps health coaches with their business. So today we're going to talk a little bit about each, but really focusing more on the health impact of what she does. So she's a thyroid specialist. And let me just read a little bit about Robin so that you have a better understanding of her background. She is a certified herbalist, and she's a certified infinite possibilities trainer and a renowned holistic health coach who specializes in thyroid issues and living with chronic conditions. And Robin is, living well with chronic conditions. That's the main point of it, right?
Yeah.
Robin's the founder of Full Potential Living and Hypo Holistic, and supports clients around the world to optimize their health while transforming the experience of chronic conditions. So important stuff. Her unique approach combines physiology, patient empowerment, and functional nutrition with mind-body healing techniques and tapping into our creativity. And in addition to helping clients transform their health and happiness, Robin also trains other holistic practitioners in the art, science, and spirit and joy of thyroid coaching. Robin's been a speaker and a featured expert in a variety of media outlets, and she can be found at fplhealth.com. Welcome, Robin. I'm so glad to have you here.
Hi, Lisa. It's so great to be here and have this time with you.
Yes, and I'm really
so long, and we're finally making it happen.
People don't know the backstory, but we've been trying to get together for months, like since last year, right?
I know.
Yeah, and I think
developed this nice friendship in the meantime. So.
Well, what you have to say is so important because I know in my family, like every female has thyroid conditions. And I know that there are a lot of things that can really help to, even if you have to take the medication to decrease the dose so that but I don't know what you know about it. So I'm really interested in hearing what you have to say. So let's start out by you just telling us a little bit about your background and how you became interested in thyroid health and chronic conditions.
Sure. Yeah, well, it all started in the early 90s. I was just out of college, and I found myself living for a few years in Boulder, Colorado, which was amazing, especially then. And there was a school there called the Rocky Mountain Center for Botanical Studies, and they did some kind of workshop that I attended, and my brain just went, oh! And that was what got me on the road to becoming a certified herbalist. And it was really interesting because it combined the science. I took anatomy, physiology, studied the immune system and digestive system and all this stuff. We had this really nice science base, which I loved. I was raised in a medical family, and I've always loved science, but I love all this holistic alternative stuff too. And so it combined those two things. So we would study the science, and then we'd be out in the woods, cutting plants and making our own tinctures and stuff like that. So it was amazing. Yeah. At the time, it was still seen as fringe, right? We've come a long way in not a long time that something like herbal medicine or herbal healing, then I got asked, are you studying to become a witch? Are you making potions? Which is hilarious now. But even taking echinacea for a cold back then was seen as strange.
Yes.
And it really opened the door for me to start learning how to view the body and the systems and healing differently. So over the years, even though I had a different career, I was a teacher trainer, I did adult learning and program design, and I was doing all that anyway. And on the side, this love of holistic health, I was getting asked a lot by friends and family, and then my friends would ask things like for their children as we got older, for health answers when they weren't getting them elsewhere. And so this has evolved for 25 years now. But I didn't, take it seriously enough, I guess, to say this is what I'm going to do for my business until later in my journey. When I started studying holistic approaches to health, I started becoming aware of my own misdirected or a misinformed sense of normal, like what was normal. Like it wasn't normal that I was a young 20-something active person eating health food and I was always a little overweight. It wasn't normal that I never had the energy or the vibrancy or glowing skin or like everybody else did. But it became normal because I lived with it for so long. And I think that that's something that we see in our clients. Even when we ask, what are your symptoms or what are you seeing me for? They may not even name some of the things that are going wrong because it has become normalized to them over the years. So long story short, I kept adding to my repertoire, I guess, because what I learned was that herbal medicine was not to be used as like like putting a piece of tape over pharmaceuticals, right? Where instead of taking aspirin, you take willow bark. Instead of taking this, you take that. But how do we actually heal the body and come to a better level of health? So I kept learning, working on myself, and then I got really sick. So in my mid to late 30s, I was working full time. I was training in martial arts really hardcore. I was super fit. I was like on top of my game, and almost overnight, I literally had to walk off the mat while I was training one day and go to bed. And my life wasn't the same for 5 years after that. And so it turned out that I had Lyme. I had 4 other co-infections along with the Lyme, and that's a whole other conversation. Yeah. But here's the thing. I had undiagnosed thyroid issues for decades before that, and I knew it because the studies were out. Thankfully, some of the really loud and influential voices in thyroid now, we have them now. They weren't around then. And so I was studying like the medical journals and the research. I think Dr. Wilson was doing, he was like the only one talking about T3. And I knew it was a piece, and I couldn't get properly tested because nobody would touch it back then. And so I've been on this road. I know that my thyroid issues created a landscape that made my illness a lot worse. When I was in the thick of my illness, it really attacked my endocrine system. I went into early menopause within 3 months. Wow. In my mid-30s. And I was told by the top, reproductive endocrine specialist then in Philadelphia, where I lived at that point, not to worry, and that happens sometimes. And, don't worry, when you want to have kids, we'll just put you right into fertility treatment. We won't make you wait a year. That was the answer.
Oh my God.
I've since reversed that entirely. And in my mid 40s now, I'm more regular than I was then, right? So, everything stopped then.
Gee.
My dedication to thyroid health comes from the fact that this was a piece that lent itself to other problems. And it was a missing piece for me to actually feel better once I was thankfully able to deal with those other issues. I would not have actually felt better until I got the thyroid stuff straightened out. And so there are millions of women dealing with this. Many are still not diagnosed or misdiagnosed or inadequately treated. And health coaches are dealing with this, whether they know it or not, because all of our clients either have a thyroid or if it's been removed are on thyroid hormones, and thyroid hormones affect every system in the body. So if we don't know as coaches, our clients may not make progress, there's problems. So that really, once I decided I'm doing this for my life, after 5 years of sickness and not knowing if I would ever get better, being bedridden a lot, I was extremely ill. I could not get out in the world. My life was so changed. Once I started emerging, I was like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And thyroid can make you feel groggy, depressed, constipated, temperatures off, like so many symptoms that low energy is what most people, I think most health coaches deal with, right? Low energy. But yeah, it could be.
Yeah, there are a lot of ways that it manifests. And so let's do the math for a second, right? So it's estimated that up to 1 in 5 women in the US, there are thyroid issues everywhere, but this is the data we have most accurately, has a thyroid issue. Okay, so let's think as coaches, who is actually coming to us for help? It's not the people who are out there feeling amazing,
Right.
waking up with tons of energy every day, loving their lives, who are seeking the help of a health coach. It's the people who can't get the weight off. You know, they're tired even though they're sleeping okay, or they have disrupted sleep. People who have some areas of their lives where they want to feel better. And so I think it's pretty safe to say that instead of that 1 in 5, when it comes to who we're working with as coaches, that number could very well be a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
And so the symptoms are some very common symptoms that people seek coaching for, you know, like weight loss, increasing energy, increasing brain clarity.
Yep.
Anxiety and stress can really go off the rails when your thyroid is not functioning properly. And so coaches have so many talents. You know, we can work with people on stress reduction. We can work with people on healing their gut, which is so important with thyroid health. Eating well. But if they have an underlying issue, those clients are not going to get better. They might get a little better, or they may get better and then regress. And so they may not get that traction and that life-changing result with coaches if coaches aren't in the know. And so that's part of my mission, is I want coaches, just like a doctor, or whether you're going to be a surgeon or an orthodontist, you have to take anatomy and physiology, right? So I feel like health coaches, like everyone has a thyroid, we should all know this and have the awareness and the readiness to spot it and know what to do, so that we can be the ones who really help people finally get answers, instead of being coaches who are like, oh no, my people aren't getting results, and not having our confidence.
And younger people are getting thyroid issues. What's that all about?
Well, I wish that we could definitively point to something. There are a lot of theories. Generally speaking, I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say that we have more endocrine disruptors in our environment than we've ever had. Mm-hmm. You know, I grew up sucking on a plastic nipple, you know, to be graphic.
Right.
It was the 70s.
Yep.
We weren't breastfed. Then it was like, hey, Teflon pans, aren't they a miracle? And microwaves. And now it's actually in our soil and in our food and in our meat. And it's very, very difficult to get away from physical, actual chemical disruptors that get into our system. That's one reason. And kids are getting those earlier and earlier, like even in the womb. You know, they tested breast milk, Lisa, and it was like 100% of women have Teflon in their breast milk.
Because it stays in the fat cells.
Yeah. Polar bears have it. Polar bears who've had no human contact. So it's in our system, and yes, we can work to change it and clean up our patterns and change the buying habits of ourselves and our clients to change the market and hopefully help the environment. But in the meantime, we all want to feel well and do well in our lives so we can do those good things.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one piece. The other, I think, is nutrient deficiencies. We're not growing a lot of food in real farmed soil anymore. Mineral deficiencies, an excess of soy, which soy by itself is not an enemy, but when you're maybe a baby raised on soy formula your whole life, you know, your whole growing years, in those early years, there's just a lot of things that can throw it off. And of course, there is a genetic link. It's not absolute that if you have it in your family, you'll have it. There is some genetic expression variability. But yeah, there are a lot of ingredients that can lead to thyroid issues.
A lot of ingredients that can lead to just, not knowing that you have thyroid issues because you just feel yucky. And that becomes a norm, just like you said.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a norm in our system, right? Especially for women. Yes. Because say you've got a couple of kids and you go to the doctor and you're like, I'm just tired all the time. Or, you know, say you have a couple of kids and you're holding another job in addition to that job. They're going to say, of course you're tired, you know, and I hear it all the time. Of course you're tired. You know, you have kids, you're busy, get some rest. I've had clients where their doctors are like, go home and have a glass of wine and relax.
Yeah.
And I'm not dissing doctors. I owe my life to doctors, the good ones, you know, but we can help people find the good ones. We can partner as health coaches with the good ones and thereby grow that element of medical care by demand, you know, and have that begin to be the norm, is understanding the body more holistically and not blaming womanhood for
Yeah.
things that are actually imbalances that can be fixed.
Right. Yeah. Such an important point. So you, with your functional integrative background, you actually get to the root of the problem, which I think is, so important. And like you said, there's not a lot of doctors out there there's more and more now that are doing this, but gosh, yeah, it's just, there's none around where I live. I mean, I would have to travel 3 hours to find a practitioner that, would get to the root of a problem. So how are some ways that you've been able to help your health coaches?
Mm-hmm.
How has that helped them?
Yeah. So one really important thing to keep in mind is that we're coaches. We're not wannabe doctors. We're not faux doctors, and we are not diagnosing, and we are not treating. And the beauty of having thyroid tools in your practice is that we don't have to. We really can be coaches, because I try to give both my clients and the coaches I work with the image of a pie chart, right? So if your health and all the things that go into making you feel amazing and operate really optimally are in a pie chart, there's one slice of that pie chart. For some that's big, for some that's small, but there's one slice that's medical, right?
Mm-hmm.
We do need to see doctors sometimes, I think. There are times when we will thank God for doctors. We need them. And that's a piece of the picture. Even really good, functionally trained doctors don't always have the time or set up in their office to deal with the rest of that chart. And we can as coaches. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I help clients and coaches to do is empower themselves, empower their clients to become empowered patients. Yes. How can we say, look, I'm your coach, I'm here with you, I'm going to help you with the nutritional and lifestyle stuff, and I'm going to help you get the full testing that you need. I'm going to help you get a medical diagnosis if we think that that's something you want to look into. And we can partner with them to do that without ever overstepping our role. And when we do, we become that coach who facilitated the client finally getting an answer after living with challenges sometimes for decades. Yeah. And so we don't have to do the doctor part, and we shouldn't ever do the doctor part, but we can be the guide on the side who helps them. They get that piece of the pie chart filled in with the right practitioner, and we can get back to doing all this other work with them that will help support them in reaching their optimal health. It's really a beautiful thing. You can tell I get excited about it.
No, and you explain it so well. That's perfect, because yeah, as a coach, you don't want to have to deal with that, but you are the accountability partner. You are the guide. You are the one who sees the blind spots, right? That's your coaching practice. Yeah. And leaving the medical.
We hardly see our own, but we can see them for others.
Right? Well, that's exactly why we have coaches, right? Yeah. So, yeah, so important. And so tell us a little bit more about the other pieces of the pie.
Yeah. So, a lot of it are the things that coaches are already doing. And when I say coaches, I'm not implying that they're all doing the same things, right? Yeah. So some coaches specialize in gut and digestive health. Well, that is a key piece for thyroid hormones. So your thyroid actually produces a few things, but it produces mostly T4, which is an inactive form of thyroid hormone, okay? And that's a divine control mechanism in our bodies so that we're not just dumping fuel on a fire all the time, right? But it requires this cascade, this physiological cascade, to convert that to the active form. And one of the places that's most responsible for that conversion is our gut. So if we have gut health issues, we may not be converting. So our T4 levels might be fine, but we may never be getting enough of that active thyroid hormone, the one that actually gets into the cells that helps us feel better and have energy. And so coaches who work with that can do their magic on that. Stress reduction, anxiety, helping keep the adrenals functional and relaxed through relaxation and nutrition. Whether you're working on diet changes, exercise, these are all things that we can do and already do as coaches, but there are some things we need to tweak in order to bring results for that large portion of people, women, but this does affect men as well. but statistically more women. There are some things we need to change in how we do that and tweak in order to really support the thyroid and not have kind of a backlash. So for example, exercise is a big one. Very often the people who come to us who've not been able to lose weight, what do they do when they can't lose weight? They start dialing up the exercise. So now they're doing even more, and they're doing CrossFit, and and CrossFit's amazing, but not necessarily for somebody with an undiagnosed thyroid issue. And they're ramping it up and maybe even eating less to try to shift the scales. And what they're doing is putting their body under more stress, cranking out more cortisol, throwing off their thyroid even more, and that can actually have negative results. Yeah. With diet, there are specific changes that we want to make. Taking out the endocrine disruptors, being aware of goitrogens is one. So goitrogens get a bad rap. Goitrogens are chemical compounds that negatively affect the thyroid. That's a physiological story, but they're present in cruciferous vegetables when they're raw. And so there's a lot of misinformation about thyroid circulating right now. I'm really glad that the thyroid story, the fact that this is happening and so many people don't know, is now getting so much attention. Yeah. But it's resulting in some kind of meme level information. Right. So people like, don't eat kale, don't eat spinach. That's not true. There are some times that you don't want to be having a lot of that, like when you're maybe adjusting to a new medication level. But if we cook them, these are anti-cancer powerhouses. So that's another thing. So we want to help people alleviate their fear around the misinformation that they're getting. Yes. And really have a clear path of what to do, what not to do, and have that feel good and comfortable.
I love what you're saying.
You don't want to get your client on like daily raw kale smoothies.
Right.
It's a thyroid issue. But they can certainly be eating kale in other ways. But we need to know that as coaches, right?
Yeah. And I wanted to just kind of circle back to the active and the inactive form of thyroid, because most people in the general population don't know that when they get their thyroid tested, it's testing the inactive it's the TSH is what the test is. And that's
not even a thyroid hormone. TSH is actually a pituitary hormone. So if they're lucky, they're getting a TSH test and a T4 test. Mm-hmm. So they're testing the pituitary's signal to the thyroid, well, that's the TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, mm-hmm. to say, hey, thyroid, the theory was that if there's not enough thyroid hormone level in the body active, that TSH would elevate, because it's like the pituitary knocking on the door of the thyroid. The body doesn't have what it needs, it's going to knock harder. Mm-hmm. That TSH goes up. In a perfect world, if we all were in a utopian state of health with no endocrine disruptors or inflammation or, antibodies, autoimmunity, genetically modified gluten, maybe that would still work. It doesn't work now. It's not a good indicator. There's 20 years of science to back that up. So that is not a woo-woo health coach thing. And I can point to Harvard and Yale medical doctors who would agree with me on this, who've done the research. Yeah. So most of the time now, there's no requirement for endocrinologists and general practitioners to change how they're doing it. So very often they're still just giving that TSH test as a screener and only going further if that's elevated. Maybe TSH and T4, which is the active form, but a full thyroid panel is really 6 tests. And we can request that, but we need to know to request it, and as a coach, we can help our clients request it. Right. So much we can do, and to take ownership and control of our own health and our own bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I wanted to go back because I have a question about the cruciferous goitrogens and gut health. So if you are fermenting raw vegetables like cabbage and collard greens, these are the things I ferment. Mm-hmm. Is it actually changing the I guess the mechanism of how they act in your body. So it's not really raw anymore because it's fermented.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I understand your question. And so I think what you're asking is the goitrogenic compounds of the cruciferous vegetables are what we would be if we were overly concerned. It's what we would be concerned about. It's what a lot of the current fear marketing is talking about. Yeah. And does fermenting actually take out or remove the goitrogenic effects?
Yes. Thank you.
We had a definitive answer. So it's from the scientific studies that they've looked at this, the answer is generally no. It doesn't remove all the goitrogens. It doesn't even remove most of the goitrogens, but it is essentially cooking. You're not getting it raw. So there are other elements of raw cruciferous that you're not getting, which is actually good in some ways. Mm-hmm. You're adding these amazing probiotics. There's really almost nothing on earth you can eat that's healthier than fermented cruciferous vegetables.
Right? I mean,
anti-disease and anti-inflammatory and pro-gut health. And so one of the things I help coaches to do is step away from these dots. Like I call them like almost like if you did a scatter graph where they're dots on the picture of our bodies. But imagine, if you're eating a hugely antioxidant, anti-cancer food, you're growing beneficial bacteria on that food and inoculating yourself with probiotics. You're supporting your digestion, which down the line is going to help convert that thyroid hormone from T4 to T3. You're doing so much good that if you're putting a little bit of goitrogen in there, it's like, who cares?
Right.
You know, the body is loving you for what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Now, if you lived on it, if you ate that all day, every day, and nothing else, I would have a problem with it. But most of us eat a few forksful.
Right.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Chemically, does it remove goitrogens? No. So they think. And this information changes all the time. Right. Should we still eat them? Yes.
Yeah. Good. Perfect. Because I've got some that's what I make with my collard greens is I ferment them because they're delicious. Now, my kids would disagree with me, but what are you making, Mom?
Oh, that's so good, though.
I love them. I absolutely love them. So
I have a health coach confession. I love cruciferous vegetables. I love vegetables. I have to choke down the fermented food.
Do you?
Yes. And you'd think I'd be like, oh, this is so good for you. And I'm like, I like some kimchi.
Kimchi's good.
But a lot of the other stuff, I force myself.
They have, there's a, like a Thai style fermented vegetable that's really delicious. Yeah. It's really delicious. Cool. So I'm trying to see what else I can ask you. Well, I guess, let's just talk about women in general and as we get older and how we can start taking care of ourselves. I don't know what group, like, do your health coaches work with all ages?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Health coaches do work with all ages, and I have my own practice, so I work with my own clients as well. But after I started getting more networked and involved in health coach communities over the years, and it came out that I knew a lot about thyroid, more and more coaches started asking for help. Like I had this client who's not making progress. We're doing everything right, and she's still exhausted. And, could it be this? Can I talk to you? So that started happening a lot. And with my old career being in program design and adult learning, I was just like, this has to be a course, right? We need this, like we need anatomy, physiology, right? Mm. So that's how that happened. And I think that what has emerged is this sort of two-sided business model where I'm working with clients. I also train coaches in this. And what I'm seeing is that the coaches are not all thyroid coaches. They're not all like, oh, I'm going to specialize in this. So they work largely with women. I have some who work with men, one who works with children. I have one amazing coach who's actually a life coach, and she works with women in transition. So, you know, post-divorce, like through trauma stuff. She's incredibly skilled. She's amazing. And very often prolonged extreme stress or trauma can throw off our endocrine system.
Totally.
So she has this as a piece in her practice, even though technically she's not even a health coach. So yeah, people work with all kinds of things. And as I said, everyone has a thyroid. We all live in this environment that have disruptors. We all have stress. Unfortunately, many of us have trauma, and our endocrine system responds to that. And so it's this tool in your belt. You know?
Yeah, no, that's so powerful because it's true. And I think health coaches are always looking for extra tools as well. I mean, there's what can help our clients best. So this is a really important piece of it. Now, if you had one tip that you could give our listeners, some of them may be health coaches, some of them may not be health coaches. What could you provide for them?
Well, I think that what we really owe ourselves and to advocate for our clients is to start getting comfortable stepping into the driver's seat of our own bodies and our own healthcare.
I love that.
And understand that we as women are not just people who get pregnant or people who hit menopause eventually. You know, our endocrine system is so many things. And we have lives and norms and hopes and dreams and ways that we want to live, even if we had kids or never had kids or in menopause or not yet in menopause. And that none of this should be blamed on the fact that we're women and we have hormone issues. Hormone issues may exist, but we can fix them. Right. So how do we do that? I talk a lot about building your team. So building your team means that we can hire doctors and we can fire doctors. Yes. You know, it's just like if you choose, I'm oversimplifying because I know that there's insurance and all that stuff, but it's just like choosing organic at the grocery store. Where you choose to go and put your money is what is going to feed that market. So the more that we start demanding care that looks at us as whole human beings, whole beings with a full rainbow of hormones that deserve to be tested. And I wonder for the people listening, how many have had a full hormone panel done, like 6 thyroid tests, a full reproductive panel? Most of the women I work with have never had a reproductive panel done unless they were pregnant. It was either during or post-pregnancy. Wow. But we have hormones all the time.
Fine. Yeah, they don't just happen.
That's right. They don't just exist when we're creating a life. So we exist the whole time. And let's start stepping into our role as that and proudly stepping into our role as advocates of that, as coaches, and finding the doctors we can partner with, the ones who will really listen to us. They may be experts in what they're experts in. We are experts in our bodies and in our experience. And so we need to be listened to. We need to be able to have a conversation. We need to be able to ask for more testing. There are alternatives. In most states, you can self-order labs. And then, of course, it depends on interpreting those. So some doctors will get results and be like, oh, you're in the normal range, you're good. Well, we know normal is not optimal, right? So coaches can learn that for themselves and order their own tests. Our clients can order their own tests and we can guide them through. But feeling comfortable being kind of the CEO of your health. You can hire a team, you can fire a team, you can bring different people on who specialize in different things and enjoy doing it. You know, it's like, it's caretaking and it can feel nurturing. Yeah, and that's probably my biggest tip.
I love that because I mean that's one of the most important things is to take care of us, to take care of ourselves, and that's what we don't do. That's what I mean. I spent most of my life people pleasing and taking care of everybody else, and not taking care of myself because I felt responsible to make sure everybody else. And I think these women that come to health, to a health coach are stressed out and busy and they're overwhelmed because they can't, because they're not in the driver's seat, because they're not taking care of themselves. They're
Yeah.
not putting themselves first.
And there's a lot of guilt in doing that too, when your kids need you and your spouse needs you and, you know, your career needs you and, you know, whatever it is.
But you know what? When you step into that place and say, this life is about me. It's like when I die, I'm by myself. This is it. This is my life. And when you step into that, people say, you know, they're supportive of you. And it's not like you go out and say, all right, this is it. I'm taking care of myself now and I'm not going to take care of anybody else. It's not that model. It's, I'm not feeling good. I'm going to go take a nap. And your husband says, okay.
Yeah.
And, you know,
sometimes I need this. You know, sometimes I need to stop and take naps. I need you to kind of hold down the fort.
Yeah.
And you may need to do a little explaining to family members. But once it's clear, you know, people who love you want you to get what you need.
They want you to feel better.
Yes.
They want you to feel vibrant and alive and better. So people are supportive. Even your kids are supportive of, even your job is supportive. And so much of the time we feel like everybody needs us. And that's such a huge responsibility on our shoulders. And that I guess that's
is helping people get away from that as identity too. You know, it is a big part of our identity. It's the people who we love and who love us and who need us. But if our MO is just existing to deliver the demands of everyone around us, we completely lose our grounding. And I'm going to get a little woo-woo on you here, but we lose our connection to our divine essence. Yep. And we are channels, I believe, to, you know, good ideas and creativity and fun and what are the things we enjoy. And when we light up, we serve the people in our families, we serve the world. And if we're just being pulled in all those directions and never just grounding and connecting with that in ourselves, we're never that channel, you know, to something bigger and lit up. And that ends up hurting them too. So, you know, it's like this false belief that if I take care of myself, I'm pulling away energy from them, but you're actually delivering more in the long run.
Exactly. Thank you for putting it that way. That's what I'm not articulate in the way I speak sometimes.
Oh, you are, girl.
It comes out
backwards. You lots of amazing events and talks.
But you know, I mean, but that is, I agree with you. That's so important. It's I mean, and that's why the show is called Empowered Living, because it's about empowering yourself. And it's because I just feel like it's so important to feel empowered and to take care of your own self, to be the director of your life. Yes. You get to choose to do that. Yeah, that's what you're here to do. So
I want to say a quick word about coaches and their...
Yeah, please.
Real quickly, because I know I don't have a ton of time. Yeah. I see so many coaches kind of hiding, like they have this training now and they want to do this and something brought them to the job, right? Something brought them to the path. And there's a lot of fear. My son is coming in the window and the lighting is weird right now.
You're good.
Shadow, but anyway, but then they hide because there's fear around, well, what if I get the clients and I can't help them?
Yes.
What if people are relying on me for answers and I don't have the answers?
Yes.
And so there's this push-pull between the desire to do it and the fear that's underneath, and that holds you back. And then it's like a year goes by, 3 years go by. It's like, how come I'm not running in my coaching business yet? Whether it's full-time, part-time, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But that we're doing whatever we choose to do with it. And so I have seen the most amazing transformations in coaches when they get some really specific skills and tools and resources that apply to so many people, that all of a sudden, when you know you have that, and that's not to say everyone in the world has a thyroid issue,
right?
But we can know who doesn't have one too. You know, we can help them so we can get on with our other coaching. When we have those skills and we know in our gut, in our heart that we can help people and we have the tools and resources and knowledge to do it, we show up so differently in our business. And now it's like, I will book a talk. I will, you know, present and do this client attraction thing, you know, whatever it is they want to do, because we know we can help and we have support doing it. So I do recommend that coaches add to their skill set, but but then take it forward, believe in yourself. You've got skills, you've got resources. There are people out there who need you. And I try to, help coaches do that. It's not just about learning the stuff, but using it to help people.
But yeah, taking it out into the world. And I think a lot of health coaches come into health coaching because they have a health issue, and they get very passionate about helping other people bring awareness to those issues, and that it can be helped. You don't have to live in a chronic condition. You don't have to be chronically ill and have a poor quality of life. Mm-hmm. And, as health coaches, when we see people that have a poor quality of life, when it can be fixed, it's like, we really want to help them. It's how do you get to that point where you can deliver your message? And I think we should bring this to a whole new talk and do a whole new maybe Facebook Live on this.
Yeah. Or you're so amazing at helping people overcome those fears and start to get, comfortable with being visible so they can take the steps. And I help people build on their skills and their knowledge of really knowing that they can get out there and bring in clients and help them. And when they know that, they gain the confidence. Once they gain the confidence, they're ready to really move forward in their business and their visibility and bumping things up and moving things to where they want them to be as a coach.
Yeah, let's do that. I think that's great. Okay, great. Now, let's see. I believe you have something for our listeners.
I do. So for those of the listeners who are health coaches, I've just been asked so much by coaches. It's one of the reasons why I developed my course. I have a course called Mastering Thyroid and Balance for Health Coaches. But in addition to that, I think coaches really need some tools, some tools to have better understanding of thyroid issues, how they show up in our clients, what the risk factors are, signs and symptoms. So what I've done is I've created a toolkit. It's a health coach toolkit, and it really is geared much more towards practitioners, coaches and things versus end users. But it puts together 6 tools that I actually use in my own client practice, and it's free. It's an instant download, and people can get that at fplhealth.com/thyroid toolkit. fplhealth.com/thyroid toolkit.
And I'll put that in the comments when this goes onto the page, so everybody can just click on it. Click on the link below or above, wherever it is.
And when they get that, you'll have an email. It goes to my support team. But if you have a question specifically for me, it will come to me. So I try to be accessible. I love chatting with other coaches and getting to know them. And so, people can always click reply on the email and ask questions.
Awesome. Gosh, thank you so much. This has been great. I think that what you have, your experience, your background, your journey has so much wisdom, and you have so much wisdom to bring forth to other coaches. So I'm really glad that you're helping other coaches, not just doing your own practice, although that's important too. But I think, the more we can get the message out to more and more people, like you said, the demand in our marketplace will change, and we will become healthier. And for me, health means high quality of life. So it's not just about, having a strict diet and having it's not about that. It's about how can you live to your fullest? How can you do what you want to do in life? How can you experience the life you want? Right?
Yeah. Who cares if you're even on a medication? Like sometimes people think it's about getting off all your meds. It may not be.
Right.
You feel amazing and love your life and are living your dreams, and it might take a little bit of supplemental something, from your doctor to do that. Who cares if you're loving your life, so I have a very different approach to that, but it's about quality of life. And if you can get off your meds, great. If you can't, there is nothing wrong with you. You're not a failure.
Thank you for saying that.
Nobody needs to be healthy and happy.
So important. People don't say that. Thank you so much for saying that. I wholeheartedly believe that there is a place for everything. And, there is a reason that medications came into play. And yes, they're overused, but if you need them to experience the life you want to experience, then gosh, by all means. Yeah, so let's continue this
Okay.
talk, and maybe we can deliver even more value to health coaches and holistic practitioners.
That sounds great. Yeah, we can talk about kind of adding to their skills and their confidence and
Yeah.
visibility, amazing visibility and PR type work that you help coaches make happen. That would be really fun.
Yeah, that would be super fun. Okay, well, let's do that. And we will, what I'll do is once I post this link and your link to your free gift, I'll also in the same thread, I'll post a link to what we're going to do in the future whenever that happens.
Okay, great. Yeah,
Next
we'll set up
speakers.
an event and then we can share it with everybody.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Robin. Thank you so much. I know that the listeners are going to get tons of value from this, so I appreciate you being here.
It was such a joy to talk to you and see you, Lisa, and
All
thanks to
right.
everyone who's
Thank you,
listening.
listeners. All right. Bye-bye.
Have a good day.